In today's video, I'm going to show you how to get a brighter, more vibrant effect with your watercolours. So I'm coming to the end of a painting that I'm making, which is of a pink peony with a sort of a vignette style background. So I'm going to finish that on camera. And whilst I do that, I'm going to talk about 4 or 5 different ways that you can achieve a brighter, more colourful effect with your watercolour paints. This is something I get asked about a lot. So here's the painting I'm working on, and before anybody asks me in the comments, the tutorial for this one is not available on YouTube. It will be available soon as one of my fairly low price mini courses. I do have over 700 free videos here on YouTube, but unfortunately I'm not wealthy and my rent is due, so this one will be available for a small price. But of course you'll get to see a little bit of it today. Now the first thing I want to talk about is the importance of using good quality paints. So I've got some manganese blue hue here. This is a Daniel Smith paint. We know that they're a good brand. The first brand I ever started using, and one of my favourites, is Talon's Rembrandt. This is their quinacridone rose, and honestly it's one of the most useful colours in my palette. It's that perfect sort of Barbie pink. It's not too blue but it's not too peach. It's fantastic for mixing. 2 other colours I've got here are by Jackman's Art Materials. Forgive the leakage around the lids, they have changed the lid design now. This is a British brand who hand make everything, and I have worked with them to produce some of my own colours. If you want a discount off those, I'll leave you a link in the video description. Not using today, but equally in my palette are Winsor & Newton. It's fine to start with cheaper brands, but you are going to find a big difference when you move up to those professional ranges. If you can't afford to do that, at the moment, my best advice, the cheapest brand that I like, that I think has nice, bright, punchy colours, would be White Nights by St. Petersburg. And although I mentioned Winsor & Newton, I very much dislike their Cotman range, their students range, and would only recommend their artist's quality range. And you can see the quality of these paints, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't mix and match brands. You can mix and match any brand that you like, and even the best range in the world may not have the exact colour or the exact version of that colour that you like. When it comes to mixed colours like Payne's Grey, they'll vary a lot between brands, and moving between brands allows you to choose the one that you like the best. So I'm putting an underwash on my leaves here, and the next thing I want to talk about with the brightness of colours is thinking about using a limited palette. And you might think, well, what does how many colours I use got to do with how bright they are? Really, it makes a difference. So I want you to think of it like this. Whether you're a male or a female, all genders included, imagine that you were buying a shirt and you saw a beautiful bright coral pink shirt with white details. Think how vibrant that would look. Now imagine you saw another shirt that had literally every colour under the sun, a really wacky print. It had the coral red, it had the white, but it also had black, green, blue, all sorts of other things. Imagine which of those would have the most impact. It would be the simpler, starker one. And if you have too many different colours, not only do you lose a sense of sort of drama and cohesiveness, a sense of everything hanging together, you'll lose some brightness too. So I'm only using 4 colours on this painting, and how many colours you choose depends on really the subject. If, for example, you're doing a garden painting with lots of different colour flowers in, you might need 10 colours, you might need 20 colours. If you're doing a very muted sunset, you might only need 3. I would always advise choosing at least 3 for your primaries, making sure one of those is a staining colour, or if one of those is not a staining colour, and really we're talking mostly about the blue, then I would add in a 4th colour that's a little bit stronger so that we can get some nice contrast, and we'll talk about that next. Let's talk next about transparency. So often I've seen beginners on social media ask, well, how do I get brighter colours? And people will say, don't use opaque paints, just use transparent colours. And really, this is the biggest myth that there is, because although transparency is important, without dark, opaque colours, those lighter colours won't glow. I want you to think of it like a stained glass window. If you had a beautiful, brightly coloured stained glass window, where would it look the brightest? Would it look the brightest laying out on the grass on a sunny day? Or would it look the brightest in a dark church with those thick, heavy church windows, giving a strong, dark contrast against the light flowing through. So yes, you need areas of transparency, but without strong, opaque darks, like some of these ones here, your lighter colours simply won't glow. If you're enjoying today's free tutorial, could I ask you just quickly to click that thumbs up, click that like button for me, maybe share with a friend who would find this information useful. And most of all, I'd love you to subscribe. This channel is, of course, fully CAT approved. Let's talk about another aspect of transparency that I find applies very much to reds and pinks. So often if you're painting a red flower or a pink flower, you may think to yourself, well, the darker I go, the more vibrant this red or pink is going to look. But watercolor is meant to glow. It's meant to have the white paper show through. And if you go too dark, then you do make that color completely opaque, and it almost has the opposite effect. So you think, oh, I'll apply more and more of this pink or red, but you don't get the brightness you want. It starts to look actually duller. Now, as I said, it's important to have those dark, dull colors in places, but you also want to keep some of it light and bright so that the white of the paper glows through and makes your colors look even brighter. Let's talk at this point about the importance of keeping opposite colours apart. So I've got opposite colours here. I've got pink, which we can think of as a red. Then I've got the opposite, which is green. So when I went to start painting this morning, this was my palette. And you can see that the yellow and the blue and the green, they've all been polluted by some of the pink. And it's not that you can never do this, because it is a great way of mixing muted colours. But if you're looking for bright colours, you need to keep opposite colours apart. And that includes changing your water. So at the moment, I'm painting greens and my water looks like this. And actually that's fine. It's just got a bit of yellow and green in. It's not going to mess up my work at all. But if I were to paint some more pinks, I would certainly change that water. I used to teach real life classes, and I can't tell you how many times I would walk around a class and somebody's paint palette would look like it hadn't been cleaned since 1973. And their water would look like the very misguided attempt I made years ago at making something from a magazine recipe called avocado soup. My daughter was always game for trying anything, but I can tell you that avocado soup was not only a very expensive mistake, but it was so disgusting that neither of us would eat it. So before I went on to my greens, I actually changed to a different palette. And you're not going to find a speck of pink in this palette or in my water whilst I'm painting my greens. Keep your palette clean, change your water often, particularly when going between colour opposites. Another thing that's going to make your colours glow bright is a contrast between light and dark. So I'll be thinking about this even at the beginning of the painting when I'm putting the background in. If I know there's an area where the flower is going to be dark, I'll make sure the background is light. And as I'm placing colours in, I'll make sure they show up. If I went in here against these mostly light colours with a light coloured leaf, wouldn't show enough. Now, you can always adjust as you go along, and this is something that you'll look to do particularly at the end of a painting. So as you get to the end of a painting and you're not sure if you're finished or not, that's the time you want to think about ramping up the drama. I'm often asked what the secret is when painting sunsets. How do you get those bright glowing colours? Well, the truth is those lights only show up because of the darks. Just using an embossing tool here to get some very tiny dark marks. And it's those colour contrasts that make your work glow. And that's why it's so silly to be worried about having some opaque colours in your palette, because they are the colours that are going to make your brighter colours show up. This paint I'm using here is quite thick and opaque, which means it's going to show up nicely against that more transparent background. And that contrast between light and dark is going to make your colours glow. If you are interested in this tutorial or any of my other paid tutorials, and I always have a discount on my mini courses when they first come out, make sure you're either following my social media, particularly Facebook, or you're on my newsletter list, which you can get on by downloading any of the free PDFs or taking any of my free courses. You'll then get a lovely update each week which will tell you all the things I'm working on, give you reminders of free YouTube videos and also any special offers on courses that I've just launched. So let me know in the comments what you found useful about this video and anything you're going to implement in your own paintings, or perhaps you have some tips for getting brighter colours that you'd like to share with everybody else. And before you leave this video, don't forget to have a look in the video description. There's all sorts of free stuff down there, free downloadable PDFs. There's even a free watercolour painting course that you can take for no money whatsoever. You can also find out all about my paid courses down there. And if you enjoyed this video, I'll put another watercolour painting video up for you to watch right now.